Police encounter a black woman discover she's the inspiring leader they never knew. Maya stood at the park, the sun shining bright as laughter filled the air. The scent of her homemade pastries wafted from the picnic blanket spread before her, a rainbow of colors and textures, from blueberry muffins to cinnamon rolls. It was a welcome escape from the struggles of running her bakery and the stifling whispers of the community. She watched her children play, their joyful shouts lifting her spirits momentarily. But peace was ephemeral. Suddenly, the calm that wrapped around her shattered like glass. A police car pulled into the lot, its tires crunching against the gravel, sending a jolt through her chest. Maya's heart raced as the officers hopped out, glancing sideways. It was as if they were looking for trouble, and she was the prime suspect. Frustration bubbled beneath her skin. She was just a mother trying to cherish a moment with her kids, not a criminal lurking in the shadows. "Ma'am, we received a call about a disturbance," one officer stated, eyes narrowed. Out in Oakwood, they were accustomed to the familiar faces that occupied their community. Maya didn't fit the mold of their quaint suburb, and that was evident. She took a breath, her voice steady as she replied, "I'm just here with my children, enjoying a picnic." The tension was thick, palpable. Those nearby began to watch, whispers growing. It was moments like these that fortified every ounce of resilience within her. As contempt swirled around her, Maya felt a surge of indignation. No longer would she be silent. She could hear her mother's words echoing in her heart. "Stand tall, even when the world tries to bring you down." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each word she spoke carried weight, reframing the narrative that would not only define her, but those like her in Oakwood. "I'm not just here to take up space. My family's bakery has long served this community. My children deserve to feel valued." The stares shifted. Uncertainty began creeping into their faces, but resistance remained. After the encounter, Maya returned home, both shaken and emboldened. The threat of losing her bakery loomed heavier than ever. That evening's council meeting would decide the fate of Maya's family treats, a legacy entwined not only with her family, but with the community she desperately sought to belong to. As she prepared her speech, Maya gazed at her children sleeping peacefully. They were her anchor, her reason for fighting. Standing before the council, heart pounding, she knew she had the weight of every marginalized voice behind her. Would they see past preconceived biases and allow a bridge of understanding to be built? Just as she began to share her story, a sudden uproar disrupted her words, a well-known local activist rising, ready to ignite the flames of truth. Maya's breath hitched. Her heart raced. Would this moment spark compassion, or would it drown in division? The room simmered with tension, and until the dust settled, the questions remained. Would unity prevail, or was the struggle for understanding an eternal cycle? As the activist took the floor, Maya felt her stomach twist into knots. The man was charismatic, his presence commanding. He began speaking fervently, rallying the room with cries for justice. Maya's eyes darted around the council chamber, taking in the faces of the council members and her neighbors. Some nodded in agreement, while others shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to react. Let us not ignore the underlying issues in our community, the activist proclaimed, his voice rising. We can't pretend this is just about a bakery. This is about inclusion, about standing up against the biases that persist in our streets. A wave of murmurs rippled through the audience, a blend of support and skepticism. Maya watched as some faces softened, others hardened. She felt the weight of the moment bearing down on her. Would anyone hear her own story beneath the fervor of his? She waited, heart pounding like a drum, hoping to find a moment to speak again. But as the activist continued, she felt herself drift further away from the narrative. This was her platform, her place to share a vision of community made stronger through diversity. Yet it felt as if the doors were closing around her. Doubt started to creep in. Was she truly prepared for this fight? Then, just when she thought all hope was lost, the activist's energizing words shifted focus briefly. We need to lift each other up, to embrace every individual in our community, regardless of their background. His message echoed in her mind. But whom do we truly want to uplift? She pondered, feeling the pulse of her own purpose rising within her. Finally, in a moment of courage, Maya stood again, cutting through the noise. I know this is hard, she began, her voice steady yet soft, but my pursuit isn't for fame. It's for belonging for my children and for every child who deserves to grow up in a community that sees them. The room fell silent, ears straining to listen, and for the first time all night, the focus pulled back to her. She could see a few council members leaning forward, intrigued, trying to decipher the depth of her truth. How many of you have tasted my pastries? How many of you have laughed together at our family gatherings? She pressed on, and each question felt like a gentle reminder of the connections they shared, however unacknowledged. As she continued, Maya shared her daughter's dreams and the warmth of the community that centered around her bakery. With every word, she wove a tapestry of hope and resilience. The whispers began to shift, this time more aligned with understanding than discord. But just as she sensed her momentum building, a loud voice broke into the fragile peace. This is just a distraction, a local business owner vetoed, rising from his seat, clearly frustrated. We can't allow this to become a circus that distracts from the real issues. Maya felt the air thicken. The anger and lack of understanding simmering in that room threatened to boil over. Would her effort to unite this community slip like sand through her fingers? She glanced at the council, looking for any sign of support. This was not just about her bakery anymore. It was about everyone. The struggle coursed through her veins, fueling a fire she thought had simmered out long ago. What if she started quietly, hoping to inspire rather than inflame? We came together, all of us, to find a solution instead of creating divisions. Would they rise to meet her, or would the noise drown her out once more? The moment hung in the air, heavy and charged. Footsteps echoed in the silence, and Maya held her breath, waiting for the council's response, as tension gripped the room tighter than ever. But behind her, a familiar voice spoke up. It was her daughter, hands raised high. "Mom, we believe in you." How could that simple declaration change everything? Would it set off a chain reaction of courage and hope? Maya's heart soared at her daughter's words, crashing against the tide of anxiety that had built up inside her. In that moment, it felt like the air itself stirred, breathing life into the stagnant atmosphere of the room. The collective gaze swiveled to the young girl, a beacon of innocence and hope, and for a brief moment, division melted under the warmth of her belief. The council members exchanged glances, as if her daughter's outcry had shone a spotlight on the fragile connections they all shared. A ripple of murmurs surged through the crowd, curiosity, admiration, maybe even solidarity. Maya felt something shift as she locked eyes with her daughter, a knowing stare that said, "We can do this." Encouraged, she stepped back into the fray, energy fueling her words. "See, that's exactly it. It takes the courage of our children to remind us of our shared humanity. We fight not just for our own dreams, but for their futures, too." She gestured with her hands, aiming to bridge the increasing gap, like a thread weaving through a tapestry. That a local teacher stood in the back. Amy, who had seen her own children thrive at the bakery, spoke up. "I remember the first time my class visited Maya's shop. It was a celebration. I want my students to feel that same joy every single day." The audience began to nod, recognizing a voice they could relate to, a light in the dark. But the local business owner remained unmoved. "That's all lovely, but what about the real economic impact? We need to focus on job creation, not support a hobby," he retorted, his voice slicing through the softer tones like a knife. Maya's heart sank. The shadows of doubt loomed again. Was this battle truly one she could win? She could feel the weight of the struggle bearing down, the push and pull of differing opinions churning around her. In that moment, her daughter's voice rang out once again, more resolute now. But it's not just pastries. It's people, it's culture. Mom's Bakery brought us all together. The words ignited a spark of recognition among the audience. And then Maya realized they didn't need to convince everyone in the room just enough to create a cascade, to showcase the strength in diversity. You're right. It's not just about the treats we make. It's about the hearts we touch. She took a deep breath, her voice steady. Together, we build a community where every child can thrive. Isn't that worth fighting for? The silence stretched as council members exchanged looks, faces that bore the weight of years of decisions, now reflecting a glimmer of empathy. One council member, older and often considered set in his ways, began to whisper to his neighbor. Maybe she has a point. The crowd shifted. Leaning in, curiosity piqued. But before Maya could gather her thoughts again, an unexpected voice rang out. It was her husband standing tall in the back. We've seen blooms of flowers grow in the most unexpected places. Why can't we cultivate a garden of hope here? The wave of approval surged, feeding the exigency of the moment. The activist grinned, now seeing Maya as a fellow warrior. That's exactly right. The question should never be why we should invest in one another, but how can we spark the change we want to see? As energy vibrated through the crowd, Maya felt renewed determination coursing through her. She knew she was not alone. But would it be enough? Would the council finally see the value of uniting rather than dividing? The question hung in the air, waiting for an answer that could shift the path of the community forever. The crowd, charged with emotion and unity, held their breath as the council started to speak. What would be the turning point in this moment of defining hope? Maya felt the tension in the room tighten, the whispers lingering like a heavy mist. The council members exchanged hesitant glances, their expressions a mix of uncertainty and intrigue. In that charged silence, every eye in the room widened, anticipation flaring at the edges of hope. The older council member who had muttered before finally cleared his throat. I've watched this community struggle for years, many of us have. But perhaps we need to find new ways to think about what it means to build up our small businesses. What if supporting Maya's Bakery could also mean creating jobs? His voice quivered, yet it settled on the crowd like a pebble thrown into a still pond, rippling across faces that were beginning to brighten. Maya's heart quickened. This man had always been resistant to change, but now his words felt like a door creaking open. She couldn't resist stepping further into the light of that opening. Yes, if we come together, the bakery can be more than just a place for pastries. It can become a hub for job training, for workshops where the next generation learns to craft something special. A murmur of agreement washed over the gathering. Heads nodded, and shadows of doubt seemed to flicker like fragile candles in the dark. The local business owner who had scoffed before crossed his arms, a skeptical eyebrow raised. And who will pay for all this? His skepticism remained, but Maya sensed a chink in his armor. Investment, said another voice, this one from a younger member of the council. What if we view it as an investment in our community? We can create funding programs that not only support local businesses, but encourage our kids' entrepreneurship. I do want to invest in that. The energy in the room surged, vibrant and electric. Maya could see the shift hearts and minds unlocking one at a time. It was like watching a flower bloom in fast motion. As more voices joined in, each idea built upon the last. Someone suggested partnerships with local schools for education. Another proposed integrating cultural events into the bakery's community space. Maya's daughter, perched on her mother's arm, whispered, "Look, Mom, everything is coming together." Maya felt a warmth spread through her, pride mingling with renewed hope. But then, like a sudden gust of wind, a voice cut through the elation. Another council member, newly appointed and more business-minded than empathetic, spoke up. "While this is all lovely, I need to know the numbers. How is this bakery going to support itself? What is the financial plan? The bubble of hope felt fragile. Maya's heart sank, doubt creeping back in. Numbers, details, a plan. They needed more than emotions now. But as she opened her mouth, ready to address the concern, her husband spoke loud and clear. What if our community decided that numbers take second place to heart? When you invest in caring, you create something unmeasurable: unity, loyalty, love. His voice rang out with conviction, and the crowd seemed to lean in, drawn by his spirit. Maya felt her own heartbeat quicken. His words lit a flicker of determination in her chest. What if they focused not just on the bottom line, but also on the bonds of community? She knew they were on the brink of something monumental. But what would be the council's final verdict? The air thickened with anticipation as all eyes turned toward the council. The moment hung, heavy with possibility, waiting for that pivotal decision that could reshape everything. What would they choose to embrace? Would they become a force for progress, or would they pull back into the shadows of fear? Maya's heart raced as the silence stretched, suffused with a mixture of hope and dread. She could almost hear the collective breath held in the room. The older council member who had first dared to support her was staring at the others, his expression serious. It was clear that he believed in her vision. But would they? The tension broke when the council chair leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Let us be honest," he began, his voice steadied by years of authority. "Change is hard, and investing in a bakery, particularly an untested idea like this, is a risk. We need real numbers to feel secure. But isn't our very existence a risk?" Maya interjected, her voice stronger than before, emboldened by the earlier support. "Every small business started because someone took a chance. If we keep waiting for certainty, we'll be stuck. If we invest in our people and our community, we might just find ourselves thriving in ways we never imagined." Murmurs began to ripple again, but the skeptic from before raised his hand, his expression a half-hearted mask of impatience. "Passion is nice, but it doesn't pay the bills." Maya's daughter, sensing the shift in energy, tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, when will they see?" Maya knelt to her daughter's level, brushing her hair from her forehead. "They'll see, sweetie. They just need more time." Then a voice broke through, this one from a youngest council member, a woman whose family had long struggled to find their footing in the community. "I think we could work with local businesses to help fund this. We could create incentives. A bakery training hub means skilled workers who can uplift all of us." "Yes." Maya clapped her hands, her heart fluttering with the contagious excitement. "And we can run community fundraisers. Maybe even plan events where everyone pitches in. Together, we can dream up a strategy that incorporates all our strengths." The older man nodded slowly, perhaps contemplating the weight of her words. "It's worth discussing," he finally conceded. The baker that had once scoffed looked thoughtful, uncrossing his arms. "If it could generate jobs, improve the community's bond, I suppose it could be beneficial," he mused. Maya could feel the hopeful spark igniting in the room. Yet, her heart was still a tight ball of anxiety. Would hesitation emerge again? In that moment, she decided to share something personal. "I never thought I could bring our community together like this. Losing a loved one reminded me how precious time is. My grandmother used to say that food is a love language. If we want to survive, we have to talk to each other. It starts with sharing." The room seemed to absorb her words. Faces softened. This wasn't just about numbers, but about bringing life into the aspects that mattered most. "What if I can convince the other local businesses to get involved?" The local restaurant owner chimed in. "I could volunteer my kitchen for cooking classes." More ideas sprang into the air, each one tinged with hope. Maya felt the flow of possibilities lifting them all. But just as enthusiasm peaked again, a distant siren wailed through the open window, snapping Maya back. The council chair glanced toward the sound before returning to the group. "All right, the idea is now on the table. We'll need at least a week to formulate a proposal. In the meantime, we will schedule a follow-up session to see how we can turn these thoughts into action." Nervous energy poured into Maya. What if they didn't follow through? What if they lost this momentum? As the meeting adjourned and conversations buzzed around her, Maya's gaze shifted to the swirling shadows at the edge of the room. Behind the council, she noticed a woman from the community who had previously kept to herself. Tears glistened in her eyes. Maya felt an ache within her. Was this realization a turning point for others too? Or just her illusion? Before she could gather her thoughts, the woman stepped forward. I want to share my story at the next meeting," she said, voice trembling but powerful. "I think it's time I joined this community." Maya's heart soared. Their journey could be bigger than she ever imagined. But would they be strong enough to tackle the challenges ahead, together? As the crowd dispersed, Maya glanced toward the councils, their backs already turned. What stories were yet to be told? What bonds would they forge? The thought lingered in the air with unspoken promise, leaving Maya to wonder how far they could really go. The days that followed were a blur of hope and anticipation. Maya could scarcely concentrate on her daily routine. Every moment, her mind wandered to the council meeting, replaying the faces of those who seemed moved, the expressions of those still skeptical. As she prepared dinner one evening, her daughter pulled at her sleeve again. "Mom, are you going to make the cupcakes for the fundraiser? You promised." Maya smiled softly, the warmth of her daughter's enthusiasm igniting a spark within her own heart. "Of course, honey. We will make the best cupcakes anyone has ever tasted." As she mixed the batter, she allowed herself a moment of excitement. The idea that this small act could bring people together was powerful enough to chase away doubt, even if only for a brief moment. Later, as she cleaned up the kitchen, she noticed a flurry of messages popping up on her phone. Local business owners were buzzing with ideas. The restaurant owner had indeed rallied support, and now other entrepreneurs wanted to come forward, offering their services to help with everything from baking classes to marketing the bakery. Maya felt a sense of purpose swell inside her, each notification a reminder they were all on this adventure together. Just then, a knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Opening it, she found the woman from the council, meeting her expression a mixture of nerves and determination. "Hi, Maya. I thought we could gather everyone for a brainstorming session. I want us to use every resource available. My neighbors are eager to chip in." "Absolutely," Maya exclaimed, feeling a wave of energy course through her. "I'll send out a message to everyone to meet at the park tomorrow. Let us get this started." The following day, the sun shined brightly, casting an optimistic glow on the group that gathered under the old oak tree. Maya was taken aback by the diversity of faces around her, young and old, families, single individuals, longtime residents, and newer members of the community. As they shared their stories, Maya felt a sense of solidarity emerge that she hadn't expected. Each contribution used flavors, memories, and hopes to weave together their vision for the bakery. Then, as she watched a father explain his love for cooking with his children, his voice steady and proud, her heart swelled with the potential of community. Listening, she realized this was more than a building where goods would be made. This was a space where connections would form, lives would intertwine, and healing would begin. But as the meeting wound down, the atmosphere shifted when an ominous black SUV pulled into the park lot, its lights glaring. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The park grew quieter as whispers echoed around her. A group of police officers emerged. They scanned the area, eyes fixed with a mix of authority and confusion. Maya's heart raced. What were they doing here? One of the officers approached, and everyone instinctively stepped back. "We received reports of a large gathering. Just checking you're all complying with the law," he began, though the tension in the air painted a different picture. Underneath it all, Maya felt a flicker of courage rise. "Excuse me, officer. We're just coming together as a community. We want to uplift each other and bring something special to our town." Before she could continue, the officer paused, taken aback by her earnestness. "You? The one who spoke at the council?" "Yes. As a matter of fact," Maya replied, her voice steady. "We're working on a community bakery. Would you like to join us?" The silence stretched again, heavy with uncertainty. The officer's expression softened as he exchanged glances with his colleagues, uncertain of how to engage with what he was witnessing. Suddenly, The woman who had originally stepped forward at the council, emboldened by Maya's example, stood up. We're all here because we believe in each other. Food can bring us together. You can join us if you want. Let us turn this into something beautiful instead of fear. The officer's eyes widened, and just for a moment, Maya dared to believe they could change the narrative, perhaps even their town's fate. But would they? Maya's heart thudded hard against her chest, tangled with hope and anxiety. The moment of truth lingered in the air. How would the officers react in this unexpected twist? What path would they choose? Maya held her breath, eyes locked on the officer as he processed the words spoken around him. The tension was palpable, like a stretched rubber band ready to snap. She could see the gears turning in his mind, the careful balancing act between duty and the human connection forming before him. He began hesitantly. I didn't expect this. His voice trailed off, and for a split second, Maya dared to believe he was about to step away from the squad toward them. An elderly woman at the back spoke up, her voice shaky yet resolute. We're all just trying to come together. This town has been lacking something for a long time, and we want to change that. Would you want to be a part of something good? The officer shifted his stance, glancing back at his colleagues. They looked at each other, uncertainty etched on their faces. After a moment, the officer seemed to straighten his posture, as if rallying some internal conviction. I can't promise anything, but if you're complying with the local regulations, it might just be an idea worth discussing. A wave of murmurs rippled through the gathering. Maya felt warmth flood her veins, igniting a spark of hope. Positive energy turned that dreadful tension into something more productive, a real movement blooming from the soil of anxiety. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maya exclaimed, a genuine smile breaking across her face. We'll follow the rules. We just want our community to thrive. The officer nodded, his gaze sweeping across the crowd, seeing the eagerness and determination etched into their faces. For a moment, it felt as if the air became lighter, the monstrous weight of tension lifting, giving way to a new possibility. As the officers gathered their things to leave, Maya stepped closer. Would you be open to coming to our next meeting? We would love to have your insight on running a community initiative. Almost without hesitation, he jotted down the information on a small notepad. To the back of the crowd, a young man, freshly optimistic and bold, called out, "Hey, when we start baking, how about you all come for a taste test? You could be the judges." Laughter broke out, easing the remaining anxiety in the air. The officer smiled, easing the tension even further. That could be arranged. As the officers drove away, the crowd erupted into cheers and hugs, a united front rooted in a vision that had just begun to materialize. Maya glanced over at the woman from the council who had ignited this gathering in the first place. Their eyes met, and Maya could see the pride reflecting back at her a tapestry of hope that had begun to weave itself into reality. But as excitement surged, something deeper stirred in Maya, a whisper of doubt clouded by the thrill of newfound support. The road ahead might get rocky. Would they encounter pushback from those who didn't believe? What if they lost momentum? With thoughts racing, Maya gathered her daughter close, feeling the small hands wrap around her waist. You're going to help me bake those cupcakes, right? Yes, the girl chirped, her eyes sparkling. Maya held her daughter tighter, the warmth of that small body resonating with every fear extinguished. Let's make them the best we can. But as night fell and the town quieted down, Maya stared out at the dark horizon, the stars twinkling like the dreams in her heart. The uncertainty lingered, casting shadows by light still fighting to be born. How would they ensure this new chapter flourished? The weight of her newfound responsibilities pressed heavily on her, even as hope fluttered within. A shiver of anticipation raced down her spine. This was just the beginning. What challenges would she and the community face next? As she locked the door, determination surged within her. What lay ahead could be the greatest test of all. Maya woke early the next morning, the sun casting soft rays through the curtains, stirring the dreams of hope and community that had occupied her thoughts all night. With her daughter still sleeping, She moved quietly through the house, a bubble of excitement building in her chest. Today felt different. Everything felt different. In the kitchen, she brewed coffee, the rich aroma awakening her senses. She started jotting down ideas for their upcoming meeting. Cupcakes and cookies were the easy part. She wanted to spark conversations, real connections amid frosting and sprinkles. They needed to talk about inclusivity, about how to bring more voices to the table, how to rebuild trust between the community and the officers. Her daughter's soft footsteps interrupted her thoughts. "Mommy, what are we making today?" the girl asked, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Cupcakes. And we're going to invite everyone for a little meeting," Maya explained, beaming at the sight of her daughter's enthusiasm. The girl jumped up and down, her laughter ringing like chimes in the morning air. Once they had baked a batch of bright pink cupcakes decorated with colorful sprinkles, Maya carefully put them in a box. She took a moment to feel the weight of that box in her hands, sweet, tender, but also a symbol of everything they wanted to share. As they arrived at the community center, she could feel the excitement in the air, palpable as the smell of baked goods. People started to trickle in, chatting and laughing, the atmosphere buzzing with renewed energy. "Maya," a familiar voice called. It was the elderly woman from the night before, her face alight with joy. "I brought some muffins, too. Thought they'd go perfectly with your cupcakes." "Thank you. They look wonderful," Maya replied, her heart swelling with warmth. Not only was she gathering her own courage, but she was witnessing it ignite in others. Slowly, the room filled with community members. Maya took a deep breath as she looked around at the smiling faces, a mosaic of her town. When the time came to speak, she felt the flutter of nerves, but she pushed it aside. "Thank you all for being here. Today, we're not just baking, we're building our future together." Laughter and clapping erupted in response, and Maya felt the edges of her uncertainty soften. As she shared her vision for their initiative, creating a safe space for everyone to gather, discuss issues, and celebrate their unique contributions, people nodded their heads. They asked questions, shared ideas, and even told stories of experiences they'd lived through. For the first time, it felt like real dialogue was opening up, each word adding a brick to the bridge they were laying down together. But with laughter came moments of silence as well, particularly around the mention of difficulties some members had faced. A deep-seated emotional current flowed through the conversations, as vulnerable truths spilled forth amid pastries. Just as Maya felt a wave of connection wash over the room, an unexpected voice broke through. It was the officer, standing at the door, looking genuinely uncertain. "Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to come and see what this was all about," he announced, rubbing the back of his neck. Gasps filled the space, eyes darting in surprise. Maya's heart raced. Would his presence disrupt the fragile bond they were working to create? "Please, pull up a chair," she said, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. As he stepped forward, she sensed another shift in the room. Would he feel welcomed or remain an outsider? Maya's eyes met his, and she could see a hint of vulnerability reflected back. "We're hoping to change things, to build trust," she said, hoping he could hear the sincerity in her words. As the officer sat amidst them, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would be pivotal. They had opened the door to discussion, but would he step through the threshold? What would they reveal to each other now? What challenges awaited them when truths met the harsh light of day? The room hummed with uncertainty as the officer settled into a chair, his eyes scanning the crowd. Maya's heart raced. This was more than just a meeting. It was a moment that could change everything. She felt the weight of the room's anticipation, every person leaning in to see how this encounter would unfold. "Thank you for joining us," she began again, her tone warm but firm. "This is an opportunity to understand each other, to learn about the experiences we all face in our community." A few heads nodded encouragingly, but others were still skeptical. The officer shifted slightly, scratching his head. "I've been part of the force for a while now, but I haven't spent much time in the community outside of work. I want to help. I'm here to listen." Maya sensed a flicker of honesty in his voice. There was something fresh in his admission, a willingness to engage. "That is a great start," she replied. "We all have a story, and yours is as important as anyone else's." An older man, his face etched with lines of experience, spoke up. "But what do we do when we feel like we aren't heard? When every time you come to talk, it feels like you're talking to a wall." His frustration was palpable, and the room filled with murmurs of agreement. Maya's chest tightened. This wasn't just a dialogue. It was deep-rooted frustration and anger spilling over. "I understand," she said softly, "and it's valid to feel that way. We need to talk about it. We can't know what to change without the truth." The officer leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I want to change that perception. I want to know what it's like for you, what we could do differently. How can we work together?" Before anyone could respond, Maya's daughter tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, can I say something?" she asked, her wide eyes shining. Maya nodded, her heart swelling with pride. Her daughter climbed onto a chair, her small voice cutting through the tension. "I don't want to be scared of police. I want to play with them, like in the movies. Can you make that happen?" The room fell silent. It was a question so simple, yet so profound. Maya watched as the officer, moved by her daughter's innocence, swallowed hard. "Children shouldn't be scared," he said, his voice steady. "I promise to work on that. If we're going to move forward, we need to create spaces where they feel safe and understood too." Some of the tension dissipated, but other faces still held skepticism. Maya knew this moment could slip away easily if they didn't grasp the chance. "Let's make a plan. Together," she urged. "What if we started a program? Something fun for kids? Like a summer camp where we can learn about each other?" Excited whispers erupted across the room. The veteran man nodded, a spark returning to his eyes. "I hosted a camp like that years ago. We can do it again." Support bloomed as members began discussing ideas, each voice building on the last. The officer chimed in, hopeful, offering resources, volunteers, and connections. Maya felt the warmth of unity wrap around her as the spirit of collaboration danced in their words, slowly replacing the doubt. And yet, a feeling nagged at the edges of her excitement. A small voice in her mind wondered, could the officer maintain this momentum? Would others join him, ready to put in the effort? As laughter filled the air again, Maya glanced at the officer. Their eyes met, and for a moment, they shared a silent understanding. There would be hurdles ahead, but today was a step in the right direction. Just as conversation soared, the door swung open again, and a new figure stepped in heavy boots, stomping on the wooden floor. An imposing presence radiated authority, but it was the look on his face that sent a chill through the room. Maya's heart dropped as she recognized him, knowing suddenly that this could change everything. Yet again, would this new arrival disrupt all they had just built? Would he challenge the fragile trust they were forging together? The man strode in with purpose, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. He was the town's police chief, a figure known for his stern demeanor and hardline approach. The laughter that had filled the air faltered. Maya held her breath, uncertainty knotting in her stomach. This could unravel everything they had just started. The chief paused at the door, his presence imposing, a contrast to the vibrant interaction happening inside. "What's going on here?" he asked, his tone sharp, a challenge lingering in the words. The crowd shifted uneasily, apprehension electrifying the space. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her daughter's hand in hers, grounding her even as fear threatened to take over. She stepped forward. "We're working on a community initiative," she explained, her voice steady. "We want to unite the community and build trust between the police and residents." The chief's brows furrowed, skepticism etched across his features. "And you think this gathering will solve years of issues in a small town?" Maya felt a wave of doubt crash over her, but she pressed on. "We believe that understanding each other can pave the way for change. No one wants division anymore. We all want to belong." Behind her, the officer who had joined them shifted uneasily, clearly caught between his boss and the community's hopes. Then the officer spoke up, his voice firm but respectful. "Chief," These people are trying to create a space for dialogue. You think sitting around drinking coffee is going to change attitudes? The chief interrupted, cutting him off. His cynicism sent a shiver across the room. It felt heavy, suffocating. But then Maya's daughter, emboldened by getting a taste of empowerment, piped up. But if we don't talk, how will we ever be friends? The chief paused, his hardened expression faltering just a bit as he registered the innocence in her words. Friendship takes more than just words, kid. It takes action, he replied, his voice slightly softer but still bearing the weight of his role. Maya seized the moment, desperation morphing into purpose. We're ready for action. Let's organize a town event where families and police can engage in fun activities. Get to know each other fun activities? The chief laughed, but it held no humor. This sounds like a fairy tale. Maybe, Maya countered, heart racing, but if we don't try, then what's left? She felt the intensity of their eyes on her, hoping for a sign, an acknowledgement of the potential that was born from this very moment of connection. With a blink, a flicker of understanding crossed the chief's face as he looked around at the murmurs of agreement rising in the gathering. He must have felt the burden of expectation weighing on him. They were all looking to him. The older man from the community stepped forward, voice strong and resolute. What if I share this plan with the community leaders? They could support this initiative if they see it has the potential to foster understanding. A ripple of excitement ran through the attendees as discussions bloomed anew. The chief surveyed the crowd, eyes flitting from face to face, and for a second, he seemed caught in thought. You really believe this can work? Yes, came the chorus of voices, filling the air with hope. Maya felt her heart swelling. It's what we've all been searching for, a bridge we can build together. The chief hesitated, and in that moment, Maya realized something fundamental shifted within him. Facing the crowd, perhaps for the first time, he was seeing them not just as a group to keep order over, but as individuals with dreams, just like him. Finally, he spoke, his tone softer, less certain but brimming with possibility. All right, let us explore this idea. Let us see how we might make this happen. The room erupted into applause, a wave of joy surging through them. Maya blinked back tears of relief. Her voice shook when she said, "Thank you for giving us a chance. We won't let you down." The officer smiled, relief and pride flooding his expression as he glanced at Maya. As they all dove into creating this new future, Maya felt a genuine warmth fill her chest. The layers of division, of mistrust, they were slowly peeling away. Weeks turned into months, and the initiative blossomed. They organized community cookouts, bake-offs, and family game nights, all of which became a backdrop for building friendships. Families who had once avoided one another were now sharing meals and laughter. Maya's Family Treats Bakery became the center of it all. It wasn't just a place for pastries. It was the heart of the community, a meeting point, a space where everyone felt welcome. She often marveled at the children laughing as they prepared piles of dough or decorated cakes together. One evening, while cleaning up the shop, Maya spotted her daughter, adorned with flour, engaged in a lively conversation with one of the officers. Their laughter rang in the air like music. Maya's heart swelled as she realized their community was growing into something beautiful, something that embraced diversity, trust, and love. Change didn't happen overnight. It was a journey filled with ups and downs, with layers of challenges to tackle. But as long as they kept talking, as long as they stayed united, they had forged a path for a brighter future for everyone, together. This is what it meant to truly belong, and that feeling was sweeter than the finest pastry. Now, if you've enjoyed this emotional journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for the incredible transformations we're showcasing. Don't wait, not even one more second, to leave a like and feed the algorithm that brings these stories to life. Comment with your thoughts and reactions about Maya's journey. What emotions did it spark for you? And I urge you to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through your actions.